Hello everybody, I'm Jester and welcome back to Isekai Shikkaku episode 2, in which I don't know, honestly. I have no idea. We only have an overarching goal so far of the entire whole story. We don't really have like those moment to moment kind of mini arcs or goals or targets. We're going to some city, I believe. So chances are in this episode we're gonna arrive at that city, and that's about the most I can say. But yeah, in the previous episode, in the previous episode, we met Osamu Dazai, an author who wanted to commit double suicide with one of his lovers. And unfortunately, just as he was about to do that, he and presumably his lover were isekai'd with a truck that, as it turns out, seeks out the unhappy people in the world, or in Japan at least, and isekais them into this world so that they can live their fantasies of being the best and the strongest and whatnot, to make up for their sadness in their past world or something along those lines. We arrive, or Osamu alone rather, arrives at a weird temple and is welcomed by one Annette, who is handling people like him who get transported to this world. Osamu is very much not like the others, though, because he immediately jumps into committing suicide again with some sleeping pills that he seems to have an infinite supply of, because he's just munching them like fucking Tic Tacs. So that's interesting. Maybe it's one of his superpowers. We don't know exactly. Annette actually kind of appreciates it, because all the other people sent here were very self-centered and very, very like, oh yeah, I'm the hero, like, I have the powers and shit like that, and she very much didn't like them. Meanwhile, Osama is like, yeah, whatever. I'm just looking for a place to die. Don't particularly care either way, and is very passive and blasé like that. And what next? He finds Catgirl on his way looking. Before that, I think he figures that his girl might also be somewhere in this world because they got hit together, so probably they both get isekai'd, and he wants to look for her to finalize their double suicide. He absolutely wants that to go through, and he has a goal, he has a motivation, he has a reason to live now, and his reason to live is to die, essentially, but on his terms and in as poetic of a way as possible. So, you gotta have goals in life, right? On his way, he meets a cat girl who's being taken by a tree, and in the classic, anime fashion of tentacles going every which way and holding her in compromising positions. And he welcomes it because, strangled finally. Unfortunately, sweet release of death is not given to him, because he has so much of the sleeping pills or whatever it is coursing through his veins that the tree in the process of trying to suck out his life force just sucked out those chemicals and just died. So yeah, he was not granted the release that he wanted. Now he has a cat girl following him, because all things considered, he did save her. Then we have Annette, the priestess from the Isekai temple or whatever, joining them as well, because she has a bit of a crush on Osamu apparently, and she doesn't want him to travel with another girl, of course. And they set off to adventure somewhere. On the way, they find a coffin. Osamu just lies there, and the girls have to pull him along That's basically it. Not all that much happened in the previous episode, to be entirely honest with you. Maybe it's gonna pick up in today's episode. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But to do that, you will of course need to need your subs there to follow along with me. I'm gonna need my sound to hear what's going on in the show. And I'm gonna have to ask you for support. Support the channel if you want monetarily on Patreon, YouTube down below, or not. Share my content, spread the word, costs nothing, helps a lot. And with that, we can start watching Isekai Shikkaku episode 2 in 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, starting where we left off. Okay, still 1 HP. I mean, that's an euphemism for being dead, so... It is. From now on, it is, Tama. They're not gonna allow you to speak your proper name. I'm sorry. Right, Satchan is who we're looking for. Oh? I think it's the first time we see the opening, isn't it? Is it? We've seen it, but as an ending. Yeah, gotcha. Or is it? I'm honestly not sure anymore. No, yeah, we've seen it as an ending of the previous episode, didn't we? Yeah. I was tripping there for a moment. Yeah, this weird demon man and the wheelchair and stuff. And where is here exactly? A city full of adventurers, of course. Is it the Adventurers Guild? You're not gonna, grill this meat if you keep stacking it like that. Why? Okay, they just dropped it and left it here. Sure. Yeah, he looks like a standard JRPG king. Being? Oh, gotcha. Right, I mean, he's an isekai, so... No pleasant memories. Yeah, I mean, that probably was a pleasant memory for him, so... What of it? Okay. Which wedding dress to pick? Or which candidate to marry? Okay, so, well, she's getting married soon, but she doesn't know who to. Gotcha. Yeah. Warrior and Bard. That's not quite how that works, but sure. Sure. Yeah, just munching those sleeping pills. Neither. Yeah. I mean, yeah. How would he know? Exactly. Yeah, just taking the tropes and not even dismantling them, just smashing them on the ground. Do we get another harem member? My cat's hair are fucking everywhere. I swear. Yeah, the sleeping pills no longer have any effect on him. His blood is half melatonin. Hello, Tama. Yeah, that's probably why he can sleep. And he just walks away. Perfect. Perfect reaction. That's a very nice looking place. This princess is just such a princess. Like, big eyes, pink hair. I mean, that's the highest praise that he can give it. Yeah, I mean, picking between, yeah, Warrior Gomez and Otto the Bard. Do you even know his face? Yeah, makes sense. Hmm. Yeah, I was wondering what's the random minstrel doing among the candidates, but apparently a childhood friend. Yeah, I mean, wise words to live by, sure. What is it that you truly want, Princess Charlotte? And you bunch of randos are gonna be witnesses. She's gonna stand in front of Osamu. Probably. Yep. Sure. Yeah, he has perhaps a little bit too much influence over her. Yeah, let's maybe not leave the kingdom without a ruler. Oh, so that's where the music was coming from. I mean, it's not a bad reason. Bring her some better candidates. Yeah? You tyrant of a king. Yeah, she's like, what, 13? She's got the time. Oh. Oh! So Gomez ain't a Gomez. Gomez is a Minotaur thing. Okay, Gomez is still Gomez, but not a human. No. Yeah, probably not much of a challenge for him. I mean, a fight needs a soundtrack. Sure. Oh, and okay. He's casting some buffs at least. Okay. Not buffs after all. Minotaur headbutt. Something special about them? I mean, you wanted double suicide, princess? And that's gonna make her realize that she actually doesn't. Okay, so how's that gonna defeat the Minotaur? Is she gonna let go of his hand at the last moment? Probably. Didn't she want to go with Sachan though? You're awful willing to commit double suicide with just about whoever. You're not a faithful man, are you? Teaching her the value of life in a twisted way. Yeah, basically. Right, you lack conviction. Thank you for coming back to us. And there go his horns, I guess. Okay. Okay, so this time around, it seems like Osamu didn't really do much in the fight. I was expecting something like, I don't know, his blood being toxic or something, and the Minotaur rushes into him, then just dies by his blood, and then Osamu is perfectly fine because he has a skill that he can't actually die or something like that. But no, it was basically all Annette and Tama. Of course. He's like the bard from Asterix and Obelix. Forgot his name. Cacophonix. Yeah, he's the Cacophonix of this series. Okay, so basically Osamu traveling the world and just helping people unknowingly, accidentally. Yeah, I mean, seems like a good idea. Worst case scenario, put her on the throne. She doesn't need a husband immediately. The country can have a queen, you know? Ah, drat! uh, oh? Monster extermination arc. Oh, she ascended to the throne very quickly. Yeah, just straight up a queen. Okay. And sitting in a tree. Just as I said, he's just a fucking cacophonix. Except his music is actually better. Is that gonna be your chosen mode of transportation? Of course. Oh? Oh? You know, he finds some beauty in life. Could it be some changes maybe happening to him as well? Probably not, but maybe, you know, just maybe. Okay, so now we get the ending proper. That's the red string of fate between Osamu and Sachan. Sachan's lips, maybe. Chrysanthemums, I think. Broken glasses. Someone who cares enough about him to cover him with a blanket. I see a lot of Chinese names in the credits, as in Chinese company names. I guess some of the animation was outsourced. Maybe. Wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, gotta go into the rain without any umbrella. Of course, and here's Sachan. Huh? Hmm. Okay, sure. Leave us here, why don't you? No context, no nothing. Okay, sure. I'm guessing that's what we're gonna see in the next episode, but we'll see. What we'll see right now, though, is this episode again, as you could tell. I don't think there's gonna be particularly much to talk about here. Seeing how this show seems to be mostly mostly a comedy, really, by now, from what I noticed. Yeah, very classic, standard JRPG slash Isekai city with all sorts of creatures and humanoids and adventurers and whatnot. I think that this show, more than being a parody of Isekai genre, that would be more like Isekai Oji-san would be more of a parody of the genre of Isekai. I think this one is more parodying the JRPG tropes from what I gather so far. yeah, you're really not getting those slices of meat baked, fried, not fried, grilled, yeah, grilled when they're stuck like that, really. Let's go to the castle and have an audience with the king, right? A bunch of adventurers came to the city from nowhere, and they can just get into the castle and just meet the king, because of course, because that's how JRPGs, and not just JRPGs but many games and many stories of this sort work, right? Who's going to be the quest giver for the area? Well, it's going to be the king, of course, so you go to him, and he has a very JRPG-y look to him as well. Yeah, offering them a place to stay, of course, asking about their stories, and I mean, it was a very, very good memory for him, but probably not for any sane person. She's getting married, of course, and, it just so happens that there are a couple of candidates, every single one of them being a tropey McTrope face. And, of course, one of the quests you get is pick the husband for the princess. I've grown too old to deal with this problem, right? Charlotte has still not chosen. Yeah, how should I know? That's the exact answer that would be given realistically, right? If I get isekai and I get the audience with the king for some godforsaken reason. But okay, let's say I'm isekai, it is a known fact. I'm with some sort of an isekai priestess. It's a known fact that she is one. I'm important and unusual enough that the king might actually want to see me, right? See a newcomer from another world, maybe get some information about technology, stuff like that, right? Okay, sure, fine. But then I'm asked, who should my daughter marry? This is my answer. How the fuck should I know? I don't know her, I don't know Otto, I don't know this other dude. How the fuck would I know? And yeah, you're a horrible tyrant of the king. You're unfit to be a king. Yeah, again, just taking the trope of walking into the city and getting a quest from the king and being, the decisive force when it comes to absolutely everything from the moment you step foot into the castle. Just the trope grabbed in the head and smashed on the ground unceremoniously. Having trouble sleeping. He did not answer the question about Satchan. Interesting. Maybe there is something more to it after all. We'll see. And of course, Tama couldn't help herself, and meanwhile, he just doesn't give a single fuck about it. It's noisy in the room. I'm gonna go out. Gonna look at the moon. Talk to the princess. Yeah, it's beautiful. Makes me want to drown myself. I mean, it would be poetic, wouldn't it? Drowning in a moonlit lake. God damn it. I think this is more or less how this show is going to go. I think in like episode to episode thing, right? They arrive at a city. Someone has a problem. Osamu talks about death and suicide and philosophy, and that someone who has a problem gets a new perspective and can solve their problem alone. Something like that, probably, right? Osamu is gonna be a little bit of a wandering therapist, for the lack of a better term. Hasn't been long, but yeah, he's dependable, strong soldier, but meanwhile, he's my childhood friend. I've never once asked anyone else to choose how I should live for me. Yeah, them's the words to live by. Sure, you might ask for advice, absolutely, but you cannot ask anybody to make decisions for you. You are your own driving force, and you are the only one who has any right to decide about yourself, after all. What is it that you truly want? Ask yourself that question. And apparently what she truly wants is a double sewer slide. Probably without understanding the repercussions, probably without understanding what it actually means, right? She just found it poetic and romantic and whatnot, and also a little bit, contrarian in that I'm picking the third way out without actually understanding the weight of that decision. Auto wrote for me, but yeah, he was probably just trying to showcase his newest song. I always love it. I really do. When it turns out that the background music in some scene in a movie or anime or wherever is actually exists in the world. It's one of my favorite tropes in comedy, probably. I don't know what it is about it, but it always takes me by surprise. I think that's what it is, right? I can never tell when it's coming because how could you? How could you possibly tell that the music that's playing right now is actually playing in a boombox or some minstrel on a harp or whatever, right? It always gets you by surprise. You can never predict that. That's probably why I enjoy this trope so much. And he smells. Why would you make me marry someone without asking for my opinion first? Yeah, exactly. I don't even want to get married. Nobody considered my feelings, you tyrant of a king. Yeah. Unknowingly, or hard to tell with Osamu. Was it knowingly, was it unknowingly? I don't know. But accidentally, maybe that would be the best term. Kinda accidentally, he just solved the problem between Charlotte and her father, and the problem of the kingdom as well. And he turns out to be a Minotaur. Really... And also we get a tidbit that there apparently is a Dark Lord. There is some sort of a Mao somewhere. I'm assuming we're gonna go on a mission to defeat that Mao eventually, right? That's how it usually goes. And there's probably gonna be twists and turns on the road there, absolutely. But, the general trope is going to exist. The general story of a show of this kind, right? But they're probably gonna put a nice, interesting spin on it. Yeah, she didn't see through his disguise, you just really smell. No, not a bop at all. Just a random song with no effects. And very sharp and strong horns, apparently. Yeah, I really thought that it's actually going to be Osamu to defeat that Minotaur. Again, accidentally, right? Perhaps Charlotte runs away, or just as it happened, he lets her go because, she doesn't have the necessary resolve or whatever, and he gets pierced by the Minotaur, and then the Minotaur dies, and Osamu survives because maybe that's his superpower, or, something along those lines. I expected. I fully expected Osamu to be the one to win any fights they encounter, somehow through getting hurt or through dying. Just like it happened with the tree. But maybe it's actually going to be Annette and Tama that do most of the fighting, and Osamu is just, I don't know, just there. Her first wish is to commit double suicide with me. Yeah, getting cold feet, Princess Charlotte. Yeah, it really dawns on her what kind of a decision she made here, right? That's usually how it is, isn't it? For many people, from what I hear, they actually learn the value of life as they can just go past the point of no return. Plenty of people who are actually rescued from a suicide attempt, not rescued before they go for it, but rather rescued after they make the final step, and then maybe there's a cushion waiting below, or maybe they rush them to the ER and save them, or something like that. Many of them, not everybody, of course, but many of them actually gain a new perspective on life that, I thought that's what I want, but at the last moment, when there was no return, I had the thought of, holy shit, I really don't want to die. It's our instinct. In everybody, in every single person, there's that There's that very basic survival instinct of I don't want to die. And it sometimes gets, overshadowed by our mental state, absolutely, but it's there in everybody. I want to live and protect the people of this kingdom. Yeah. I knew you were a kind princess, you're not fit. You simply will not do as my double suicide partner. Shield, cracked horns, and an easy defeat. Not a kill, interestingly, just throwing him into the lake. For a show, for a story, because it takes... it's based on a manga, I believe, that deals so much with the concept of death and suicide and stuff like that. They really are not willing to have people actually die. Right, like the tree, sure, tree is one thing, but even the guards around were just on the ground grunting. Nobody actually died. The Minotaur is presumably not dead either. Probably because it's supposed to be a comedy, but still, I find it interesting that they find it so hard to deal with character death, but not difficult to deal with mentions of that. I don't know. Yeah, the beginning of a budding friendship. Yeah, they have a chance to talk it out, thanks to Osamu, who, gave them a little bit of a shock therapy, basically, and gave them that final push to talk and to resolve their problems, resolve their differences or whatever, and they came to actually a good decision. The king doesn't necessarily want to rule. Sure, Charlotte wants to. Let's switch places. Whatever, it's gonna work, right? The king is the advisor now, Charlotte is the queen. Yeah, it works out. It actually works out. And the fucking cacophonics in the tree. New 16-year-old queen. I mean, by the standards of a medieval world, isn't she basically a hag by now? I wonder if she'll be okay. Probably. She has the drive. She has the drive. I find this interesting, right? Like, dying women certainly are beautiful, but women who stand up on their own to feet are beautiful as well. He seems to be kind of... I'm saying it very cautiously, right? But he seems to be kind of sort of changing his outlook a little bit. I wonder. It's a stretch, it's a long shot, but I wonder if by the end of this story, I'm not gonna say show or season, because I'm assuming the source material continues past that. I wonder if by the end of the story he actually gets a little bit of a change of heart, actually finds some joy in living, maybe, and he finally meets Satchan. Satchan says, commit double suicide with me, and he's like, no, actually, I want to live, and I want to show you the joys of living so that we can live together. Maybe, again, a long shot, because his character is all about being, depressing and depressive and wanting to die and whatnot. So introducing this sort of a shift would kind of break his character a little bit. But I wouldn't be surprised if it actually was a thing that happens. We'll see, of course. We'll see in the future. Idi showing his life before Isekai, I'm assuming. What's that say? I don't know. Can't read it. Can't read upside down cursive. Then, of course, going into the rain with no umbrella. I like when it rains. The world cannot see my tears, or however it went. And apparently, Annette on the verge of dying, Osamu really hurt. They are by the temple. That is, again, very flat looking. Interestingly. Taman nowhere to be seen. And, yeah, sure. Let's just drop this here and stop the episode. Why don't you? Sure, okay, that works. Why not? Why not? So, what about this episode? I mean, it was fun, right? I'm gonna be honest. This is hardly the best show I've seen so far. It's hardly the best isekai show I've seen. I would place Arifureta a little bit above because Arifureta is a little bit more entertaining. This one is much slower and, much less action. I would even hazard saying that the production quality is not quite as hard as in Arifureta. Maybe Arifureta Season 2. That actually had some production quality, but regardless. But it proves to have something in it, right? It's playing with the tropes of both Isekai and the JRPG and general, Japanese fantasy stories. Playing with them in an interesting way, right? We rarely ever have a character who's almost entirely passive, just like Osamu, right? Much less having a character like that be the protagonist. Sure, sometimes in stories, somewhat often even, we have a character who stands kind of opposed to the tropes, right? Like the trope is to spare the enemy, but the protagonist actually doesn't spare the enemy. Ooh, big thing. Maybe the character arrives at the king's court and the king orders them to go defeat the demon lord, and the character is like, no, and walks away. Ooh, that's a big thing. That's a big difference. That's a big breaking out of the tropes and whatnot. We have characters like that, absolutely. But we rarely have a character who's like, sure, whatever. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you what I think, but besides that, I'm not really willing to do much more. You're sending me on a suicide mission. I mean, great, cool. I've always wanted to do that, and right there is something interesting and unusual about it that kind of entices me. I just worry a little bit that this show might eventually become the adventures of Annette and Tama with Osamu, right? Because very often I noticed stories that even promise something to break out of the tropes early on. They keep that shtick for some time, but eventually they fall into the regular tropes of the genre, be it isekai or whatever else, right? The best example that I always mention is the isekai walking manga, where the whole shtick is that the main character has the power of walking, and he does not get tired while walking, and he might be able to level it up or whatever, and he gets XP by just walking, so he walks, gets XP, and buys a fireball and sword mastery, and suddenly the walking is just inconsequential because he has fireballs and swords, so it just becomes everyday regular fucking bog standard fantasy theories, right? So I worry it does not turn into something like that, because it's not going to be easy keeping Osamu be the main protagonist, right? He's not a driving force here. He cannot be a driving force for his character to work. So he's gonna have his whatchamacallit? His what's the word I'm looking for? Agency. Yeah, he's gonna have his agency taken from him a little bit, right? It's Tama and Annette who are deciding the next destination. He's just kind of along for the ride, and I fear that doesn't develop further in that direction, right? I have hopes because I see in the opening that he has this book that he can take notes and rip the paper, and that seems like magical notes flying around him. Maybe he gets some sort of a magic or whatever that allows him to be an active participant in the story. So hopefully that's something that happens. But yeah, it is a bit of a worry of mine that he just can become too passive to matter, essentially. Hopefully not. If anything, I hope they at least keep up the shtick of him providing the shock therapy for whoever currently has any sort of issues in the area they arrive to, right? Telling the king that he's a tyrant, telling the princess that to think for herself, and that resolves the problem of the kingdom. Going somewhere, staying at an inn, and telling the innkeeper, who always wanted to be an adventurer, some, wise piece of philosophy which leads the innkeeper to be happy and actually go chase his dreams of being an adventurer, right? Stuff like that. I hope that sticks around, because I would like it. It would actually be a nice thing to have our main group solve people's problems and conflicts, not by killing 50 goblins and gathering 12 pieces of the brown mushroom, but rather by pushing those people a little bit to solve the problems themselves. That would be an interesting approach. But yeah, I guess we'll see in the future episodes in which direction it goes. Overall, I enjoyed this episode. I had some fun, I had some nice laughs, and it was nice. It was nice, for sure. But yeah, right now, I think that's gonna be it from me for today, but maybe you guys have something more to add on the topic of this episode, my reaction, my theories, stuff like that. Say so in the comments down below. No spoilers, please. Spoilers can go to my Discord here, also in the description below. Like this video if you liked it, subscribe to be notified of future videos, not only Isekai Shikkaku, but also Wasuyu, Bye Bye Earth. This one's a great fantasy series as well. Vistoria, that one's amazing. QA Isekai, it's a nice Isekai. Spice and Wolf, this one probably doesn't need any recommendations. And Wasuyu, that I'm behind on, but I'm gonna catch up. And Shy Season 2, or Core 2 rather. Click the bell also to be notified when those videos come out and when I go live, because I do go live sometimes. Support the channel if you want monetarily on Patreon, YouTube down below, or not. Patreon, YouTube down below. On Patreon for $10 a month you get early access to non-seasonal shows like Wasu, and for just $1 you get a role on the Discord and a place in the credits. You can also support me directly on YouTube through memberships, super thanks, super chats, and if you don't want to spend any money whatsoever, you don't have to. Share my content, spread the word, it costs you nothing and helps a lot. And with that out of the way, that's gonna be it from me for today. So as always, you guys do all the good stuff, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. Cheers! And here's my wonderful Patreons: QB, Without a Ned, Zerene, Yukiala, Itoktuwot, Friedrich Jung, Akomancer, Marsh, Fassel, and Hans Peter. And you can join them if you want without having to pick a groom.